Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born on January 20th, 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, to a middle-class Jewish family. His parents, Seymour G. Epstein and Pauline Stolovsky, were both of modest means. Seymour worked as a groundskeeper and a plumber's helper, while Pauline was a school aide. The Epstein household was unremarkable, marked by typical blue-collar struggles and the hopes many immigrant families carried in post-war America. Jeffrey had a sister, Linda, who would later change her name to Jean. Growing up in the working-class neighborhood of Seagate, Brooklyn, Epstein was reportedly bright but socially awkward, a boy with a fascination for numbers and puzzles. He was deeply private, rarely sharing much about his personal life even in adulthood. His early education took place at Lafayette High School in Brooklyn, a typical public school environment. Epstein was not known for academic brilliance in the traditional sense, but his intellect was sharp enough to gain entry into the prestigious Cooper Union, a free college for gifted students in New York City. There he studied physics and mathematics, displaying a strong aptitude for analytical thinking. Yet Epstein never graduated from Cooper Union. Instead, in the mid-1970s, he dropped out and took a job as a math and physics teacher at the Dalton School, an elite private school on Manhattan's Upper East Side. This position would mark the beginning of his gradual integration into high society. The Dalton School, known for educating the children of New York's wealthy and influential families, put Epstein in contact with an entirely different social class from his Brooklyn roots. It was during this period that Epstein reportedly caught the attention of Alan Greenberg, then chairman of Bear Stearns, a major Wall Street investment bank. Greenberg was impressed by Epstein's intelligence and analytical skills, offering him a position at Bear Stearns in the mid-1970s. Epstein transitioned into finance, a move that would define his future wealth and connections.
Bear Stearns never had any training program. Alan Greenberg said he wanted me to learn each area of business.
Despite having no formal degree or finance background, Epstein quickly rose through the ranks at Bear Stearns, a testament to his charm, intelligence, and uncanny ability to network. Over time, he cultivated relationships with powerful figures, learning to navigate the shadowy corridors where money and influence intersect. Epstein eventually left Bear Stearns in the early 1980s, founding his own financial consulting firm, J. Epstein & Company, which reportedly managed the assets of clients with a net worth of over $1 billion. Yet the true sources of Epstein's wealth remain shrouded in mystery. Officially, he claimed to manage money for a small circle of billionaires, but investigators and journalists have long suspected that his fortune came from far more complex and possibly illicit sources. The peculiar opacity of Epstein's finances raised eyebrows in elite circles. How did a man without a formal business background, education, or public track record accumulate such wealth? Some believe that Epstein's fortune was not built solely on legitimate financial dealings, but was instead intertwined with blackmail operations, secret intelligence work, and coercive control over powerful individuals. Epstein's personal life mirrored his rise in wealth and influence. He purchased a sprawling mansion on Manhattan's Upper East Side, complete with lavish amenities, a private zoo, and a strange obsession with secrecy and privacy. He also acquired properties in Palm Beach, Florida, New Mexico, Paris, France, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, each serving as hubs for his increasingly disturbing activities. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Epstein developed a reputation as a socialite and a financier to the rich and famous. He attended parties and galas with celebrities, politicians, and business magnates. His close relationships with people like Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Donald Trump have become infamous in the light of later revelations. Epstein's public persona was a carefully crafted veneer.
He needed to have girls on constant call. In every single state or every place that he goes to, he's already got people lined up.
A successful financier, a philanthropist, and a man with access to the world's most powerful. Behind this facade lay a shadow network of exploitation, trafficking, and manipulation. His relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of the British media magnate Robert Maxwell, was instrumental in expanding his reach.
Good. It's okay. Right, we're rolling.
Maxwell, herself a controversial and secretive figure, was allegedly the primary recruiter and handler of underage girls for Epstein's operations. Their partnership blurred the lines between business, personal loyalty, and criminal conspiracy. While Epstein never publicly married or had children, his private life was a subject of speculation and intrigue. He was known to have dated high-profile women, including model and TV personality Adriana Ross, but these relationships were always under the radar. Epstein's early ties to intelligence agencies have long been whispered, but never conclusively proven. Some investigators suggest he was an asset for Israeli Mossad, involved in gathering compromising material on influential figures worldwide. Others suspect deep involvement with the CIA or other American intelligence branches. These theories help explain the unparalleled protection Epstein enjoyed for decades, despite mounting allegations.
Continue to be shocked by just how awful this story is, the damage that was done to these women.
By the early 2000s, Epstein's name began surfacing in lawsuits and police reports concerning sexual abuse and trafficking of minors. The extent of his crimes was staggering.
So a deposition from someone called Joanna Schoberg, who was also hired as a sort of assistant to Epstein and then later was drawn into giving him massages. She was hired while she was a college student, and
Dozens of young girls, some reportedly as young as 14, were lured, coerced, and abused at his properties. In 2008, Epstein struck a highly controversial plea deal with federal prosecutors in Florida. He pleaded guilty to solicitation of prostitution from a minor and served just 13 months in a county jail with a work release program, allowing him to leave 6 days a week. This lenient sentence was orchestrated with the help of high-profile lawyers, including Alan Dershowitz, and prosecutors who appeared reluctant to pursue the case aggressively. The deal also sealed hundreds of Epstein's records and limited the ability of victims to seek further justice. It set the stage for a decades-long cover-up that would come to symbolize systemic corruption at the highest levels. Despite this conviction, Epstein continued his lavish lifestyle, traveling on his private jet, known as the Lolita Express, flying with celebrities, politicians, and billionaires, many of whom are now subjects of intense scrutiny. In July 2019, Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal charges of sex trafficking minors in Florida and New York. The indictment revealed a sprawling and brutal operation involving dozens of victims and a network of enablers. But just a month later, Epstein died in his Manhattan jail cell, officially ruled a suicide. The circumstances of his death remain mired in controversy. Malfunctioning cameras, sleepy guards, and missing footage have all fueled widespread suspicion. To this day, Epstein's full story, from his origins as a Brooklyn kid to the epicenter of a global scandal, is a labyrinth of power, secrecy, and manipulation. It is a story that challenges our understanding of justice, corruption, and the dark underbelly of elite society. When Ghislaine Maxwell was finally arrested in July 2020, it was the culmination of years of pressure from survivors, activists, and investigators desperate for justice. For over a decade, Maxwell had operated in the shadows, avoiding the public eye while Epstein's alleged crimes were swept under the rug. Maxwell's trial, held in late 2021, was one of the most watched legal proceedings of the decade. The charges were grave: conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, transporting minors with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and perjury. The prosecution painted a chilling portrait of Maxwell as the linchpin of Epstein's abuse network. According to testimonies, she was not merely a bystander, but an active recruiter and abuser herself, grooming underage girls, coercing them into silence, and facilitating Epstein's access. Survivors testified with harrowing detail. One woman described how Maxwell befriended her when she was just 14 years old.
Videos that exist, the people that know they exist, I'm sure are very frightened of them being released.
Showering her with gifts and affection before introducing her to Epstein. Another recounted the manipulation and trauma that followed, painting Maxwell as a cold and calculating figure. Yet Maxwell's defense tried to paint her as a scapegoat, a woman who had been loyal to Epstein but unaware of the full extent of his crimes.
Majority, including all the names that we're hearing about the most, there are no allegations of criminality. They are just listed as potential witnesses.
Her attorneys argued that the survivors' memories were unreliable, tainted by trauma and time. Throughout the trial, Alan Dershowitz loomed large, not as a defendant but as a key figure whose name surfaced repeatedly in witness testimonies and legal motions.
Girls he sent to famous people for details of what happened for blackmail purposes. That has always been the suspicion that this man had cameras everywhere.
Dershowitz, who had once vigorously defended Epstein, found himself accused by several survivors of participating in abuse. He vehemently denied these allegations, labeling them politically motivated attacks aimed at destroying his reputation. At one point, Dershowitz filed motions to be allowed to testify, seeking to clear his name publicly. Maxwell's defense team controversially sought to block his testimony, fearing it would complicate their case. This legal tug-of-war only deepened public suspicion. Key court moments revealed how the Epstein network extended beyond the two central figures. Witnesses hinted at powerful individuals whose names were redacted or omitted from the public record.
About this guy for years. Nobody knows who he is, where he got his money from, what his deal is, and that was how it all began.
Fueling speculation about a widespread cover-up. Despite the gravity of the charges and the detailed testimony, Maxwell's defense struggled to dismantle the prosecution's case. In December 2021, Maxwell was convicted on 5 out of 6 counts, including sex trafficking of minors. The verdict was seen as a rare victory for Epstein's survivors, a crack in the wall of silence that had protected the elite for so long. However, much of Maxwell's testimony remains classified or sealed. Missing transcripts and redacted documents suggest that certain information was deemed too sensitive for public scrutiny. This selective transparency has fueled further speculation about who else might be implicated and why the full truth remains hidden. The plea deal Epstein secured back in 2008 had set a precedent for this legal obfuscation. By pleading guilty to lesser charges and securing immunity for co-conspirators, Epstein ensured a broad shield of silence. Maxwell's arrest and trial represented a delayed but critical attempt to pierce that veil, though the full scope of the operation and all those involved may never come fully to light. Alan Dershowitz's ongoing denials and legal maneuvers exemplify how those entangled in Epstein's web.
There is no client list of Jeffrey Epstein's, and the Department of Justice is not suppressing anything, and I never said they were.
Continue to navigate the perilous waters of public opinion and legal accountability. His role as a legal strategist for the powerful contrasts starkly with the voices of survivors seeking justice. Candace Owens emerged as one of the most outspoken voices challenging the prevailing narratives surrounding Epstein and the broader cultural response to the scandal. Her commentary extended beyond the crimes themselves, touching on the societal and institutional failures that allowed Epstein's network to operate with impunity for so long. Owens criticized the reluctance of mainstream media and political figures to fully confront the Epstein saga. She argued that too often, the story was reduced to salacious headlines and conspiracy theories, rather than serious calls for justice. Owens emphasized the need to focus on the victims, their pain, their courage, and their demands for accountability, rather than allowing powerful individuals to evade scrutiny. Her critiques did not come without cost. Owens faced significant backlash from media outlets and cultural commentators who accused her of politicizing the issue or using it to advance her own agenda. Despite the criticism, she persisted, highlighting what she viewed as double standards in how victims of abuse are treated depending on their race, gender, or political affiliation. One of Owens' most compelling points centered on the culture of silence and complicity that surrounds elite abuse networks. She contended that too many in positions of power are motivated by self-preservation, often prioritizing reputation and financial interest over justice and truth. According to Owens, this pervasive silence creates an environment where abuse can continue unchecked. Owens also called out what she identified as controlled opposition, figures who position themselves as whistleblowers or truth-tellers, but ultimately fail to challenge the system meaningfully. She argued that some individuals serve as distractions, allowing real perpetrators and protectors to remain shielded behind layers of deception and legal maneuvering.
Every single day?
Yes, sir.
And is it 7 days a week that you're out on work release?
No, sir.
How many days a week are you out on work release?
6.
And of those 6 days, how many hours per day are you out on work release?
12.
Her commentary resonated with survivor-led movements that demand transparency and reform. Owens amplified the voices of those who have faced intimidation, legal battles, and worse, including whistleblowers whose deaths remain suspicious. She warned that the system's resistance to accountability extends beyond Epstein and Maxwell to a broader culture of impunity that spans politics, intelligence, and entertainment. Owens' perspective invites reflection on the cultural and institutional mechanisms that protect protect abusers and silence victims. She insists that true progress requires persistent pressure on legal institutions, media platforms, and political leaders to break the cycles of secrecy and enable genuine justice. Her warnings culminate in a call to action, not just to expose the facts, but to challenge the structures that allow such atrocities to flourish. Owens urges society to confront uncomfortable truths, to demand transparency without exception, and to refuse complacency in the face of systemic abuse. In examining the Epstein saga, it becomes clear that not all who claim to expose truth genuinely do so. Controlled opposition plays a subtle yet powerful role in maintaining the status quo. These figures often emerge within the so-called truth movement, projecting the appearance of resistance while carefully avoiding the core issues or protecting key players behind the scenes. Their presence serves to fracture genuine activism, sow confusion, and ultimately divert attention away from the most damaging truths. Such actors may reveal partial truths or sensational tidbits, but stop short of indicting the full network of complicity that protects abusers at the highest levels. This strategy creates an illusion of accountability while preserving the structures of power and secrecy. As a result, many courageous survivors and whistleblowers find themselves isolated, discredited, or worse, silenced. The deaths of whistleblowers connected to Epstein's case add a chilling dimension to this narrative. From mysterious accidents to unexplained suicides, these incidents have raised serious concerns about the lengths to which powerful interests will go to prevent exposure.
Escorts me to Jeffrey's room, and he's lying there, and he goes, "Well, here, sit down." And so right next to him, and then Ghislaine sits on the other side, and they began assaulting.
Each loss deepens the shadow surrounding the case and further undermines public trust in official investigations. At the heart of this web lies the involvement of intelligence agencies. The connections between Epstein, his associates, and intelligence services such as Mossad and the CIA point to a broader, darker agenda. Mossad, Israel's national intelligence agency, has long been rumored to use blackmail and compromising material, as tools to influence foreign officials and secure national interests. Epstein's close ties to figures linked to Israeli intelligence, including Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, who was himself rumored to have intelligence connections, suggest that Epstein's network may have operated as an intelligence asset or informant. Similarly, the CIA's history includes documented cases of internal cover-ups involving sexual abuse and exploitation. Reports have surfaced revealing that certain officers involved in child exploitation were shielded from prosecution to protect intelligence sources and methods. This pattern aligns disturbingly with the leniency and secrecy surrounding Epstein's initial 2007 plea deal, which was orchestrated in a manner that protected not only Epstein but also the interests of powerful associates. Epstein's reach wasn't just legal and political, it was cultural. Hollywood was a tool, a front, a stage for grooming, blackmail, and influence. Isaac Cappy, a Hollywood actor, posted a now infamous video before his death. "I am not suicidal." He named names: Tom Hanks, Seth Green, Kevin Spacey. Then he was gone. Epstein attended Hollywood parties, hosted models, courted influencers. His client list had agents, directors, producers. And if this was a compromise operation, then Hollywood was both the bait and the cover. Candace Owens said it best: Hollywood is full of operatives. Celebrities are trained and deployed. When there's a war, Tom Hanks shows up. When there's a pandemic, Sean Penn appears. The same people over and over.
There was no way that anybody could look at this and think this was okay.
Different crises, same script. Where are the men? That's what Candace Owens asked, and it matters. Where are the protectors? The ones who speak truth, defend children, and confront evil? Elon Musk dropped a bombshell, then ran. Steve Bannon said nothing. Dershowitz keeps talking. The universities stay bought. The churches stay silent. Owens herself was attacked for asking questions about Sigmund Freud. She was placed on the ADL's list. She lost sponsors. She lost allies. But she gained something more important: clarity. Fear runs this world. Blackmail is its currency, and cowardice is its fuel. Want to understand Hollywood? Read Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger, an occultist, a truth teller. He lays it all out. The founding fathers of film were perverts, pedophiles, propagandists, and Epstein was simply the next chapter in a very old book. Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan on August 10, 2019. It was assassination. Saturday. The guards claimed to have fallen asleep. The cameras failed. The cellmate was transferred.
Video was released by the Department of Justice to prove that no one entered Epstein's cell before he was found dead, and that he really did take his own life. But it's only fueling more conspiracy theory.
The logs were altered, and then the body. Epstein's neck showed signs of multiple breaks in the hyoid bone.
Night, the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing.
More consistent with strangulation than hanging. Dr. Michael Baden,
Yes.
a renowned forensic pathologist, said he'd never seen anything like it in a suicide, but the New York City medical examiner ruled it a suicide anyway. The timeline of contradiction. July 23rd, Epstein is found injured in his cell. It's unclear whether it was a suicide attempt or an assault. July 29th, he's taken off suicide watch. August 9, his cellmate is removed. August 10th, 6:30 a.m., Epstein is found dead. August 11th, autopsy is performed. The public is told it was suicide by hanging. Following weeks, surveillance footage is accidentally deleted. Guards are indicted, but charges vanish. MCC is closed down. Every single safeguard failed. The most high-profile prisoner in the country, and no one saw a thing. Years later, leaked footage of the prison shows a door. Not the door, the wrong door. Officials say that was just the door before the other door.
How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
The public is expected to accept this, to forget, to move on. The presence of Epstein in the elite circles of finance, academia, politics, and entertainment served multiple purposes beyond the criminal. By operating a blackmail scheme through sexual exploitation and recording influential figures in compromising situations, Epstein and his network wielded a tool of unparalleled leverage. Intelligence agencies are known to use such methods to manipulate decision makers, gather secrets, and maintain control. Historical precedents for intelligence agencies utilizing illicit networks for blackmail or influence are well documented. During the Cold War, both the CIA and KGB engaged in honey trap operations to compromise officials and secure political advantages. The Epstein case appears to be a modern, more expansive iteration of this covert playbook with global implications. Whistleblowers attempting to reveal the full scope of Epstein's intelligence ties have often faced intense pushback. Some have been discredited publicly, while others have disappeared under suspicious circumstances. The net effect is a chilling deterrent to truth-telling and a reinforcement of the culture of silence. The impact of this intelligence entanglement cannot be overstated. It transforms what might otherwise be seen as a criminal scandal into a matter of national security and geopolitical power plays. The sealing of Epstein's files, the suppression of evidence, and the protection of key figures all reflect the priorities of agencies invested in preserving their operations and shielding their assets. In this tangled web of power, influence, and abuse, truth becomes a casualty. The public is left to piece together fragments while the full story remains hidden behind layers of classified information, sealed indictments, and strategic disinformation. This intelligence backdrop casts new light on the systemic failures that allowed Epstein's network to flourish and remain insulated. It also explains the extraordinary lengths taken to silence survivors and whistleblowers, ensuring that the machinery of control continues unimpeded. The trial of Ghislaine Maxwell marked a pivotal moment in the Epstein saga, offering a rare glimpse into the machinery behind the abuse, but leaving many critical questions unanswered. Maxwell, Epstein's longtime confidant and alleged recruiter, faced charges ranging from sex trafficking to perjury. The courtroom became a battleground where survivors' voices rose in defiance, yet the full story remained tantalizingly out of reach. Maxwell's trial exposed the painstaking efforts of prosecutors to piece together decades of abuse, relying heavily on survivor testimonies that recounted manipulation, coercion, and betrayal. These accounts painted a chilling picture of Maxwell's role, not just as an accomplice, but as a gatekeeper who facilitated the exploitation of underage girls for Epstein and his powerful circle. Yet even as the trial unfolded, glaring omissions became apparent. Crucial testimonies were absent or redacted, key evidence remained sealed, and several high-profile individuals connected to Epstein never faced scrutiny in court. The prosecution's case, while strong on Maxwell's direct involvement, sidestepped many questions about the broader network, a network that extended far beyond Maxwell and Epstein themselves. The mystery deepened with the revelation that certain documents and testimonies were withheld under claims of national security or ongoing investigations. This fueled speculation that intelligence agencies might be protecting individuals implicated by the evidence. The selective nature of the trial's disclosures left survivors and the public wondering what was deliberately kept in the shadows. One of the most glaring absences was the full disclosure of Maxwell's alleged client list, supposedly containing names of the elite who engaged with Epstein's trafficking operation. Despite persistent demands, this list has never surfaced publicly. Instead, court proceedings skirted around it, fueling theories that the list is locked away under seal, possibly to protect the powerful. Legal experts noted how the plea deals and sentencing recommendations seemed calibrated to contain the fallout, ensuring Maxwell's imprisonment without unraveling the entire network. This approach struck many as a carefully engineered containment strategy designed to placate public outrage while shielding systemic complicity. Alan Dershowitz's role in this legal theater cannot be overlooked. Once a vocal defender of Epstein, Dershowitz's name surfaced repeatedly in allegations and court filings, despite his vigorous denials. His continued presence in elite legal and political circles underlines the extent to which the Epstein case entangles figures who wield influence far beyond the courtroom. The trial's limitations extend beyond legal strategy into cultural and media dynamics. Media coverage, while intense, often focused on sensational aspects, overshadowing deeper systemic critiques and survivor-centered narratives. This media framing contributed to a public perception of closure that belied the ongoing silence about many critical facets. Survivor-led movements emerged in response to these gaps, demanding transparency, accountability, and systemic reform. These activists fought tirelessly to keep the story alive, emphasizing that justice is incomplete without revealing the full scope of abuse and complicity. Tragically, the pursuit of truth has come with high personal costs. Several whistleblowers and key witnesses connected to the Epstein case have died under suspicious circumstances, a grim testament to the stakes involved. These deaths have further eroded trust in official narratives and intensified calls for independent investigations. Maxwell's conviction, while a milestone, serves as a reminder that the Epstein saga is not just about one woman or one man. It is a systemic crisis implicating institutions, governments, and global elites. The trial peeled back some layers but left the core questions unanswered.
He was compromising, and then I think he was also into child pornography too. So we have no idea
who else was involved, what role did intelligence agencies play, and how deep does the cover-up go. As the public digests the trial's outcomes, the demand for the release of sealed files grows louder. These documents could illuminate not only Maxwell's role, but also expose the broader network of power that enabled this dark enterprise to operate unchecked for so long. The Epstein files remain sealed, names redacted, victims silenced, and whistleblowers like Isaac Cappy end up dead. Jean-Luc Brunel, found not alive in a cell. Same MO. Mark Middleton, Clinton advisor.
We have a situation where the accusers are held confidential and the accused names are released.
There is a pattern. There is a message. Stay silent. But some, they have decided they won't. This is not about one man. It's about the system he represented. Epstein was the spider, but the web is still there, wrapped around our media, our universities, our courts, our culture. He is what happens when every pillar of society is compromised, when power becomes perversion, when truth becomes taboo. There is no conspiracy theory. There is only conspiracy fact, and we are surrounded by it. As facts on trial, answers to questions never asked, helping you understand the world better.